December 11th, 2020, Friday. So I'm here to do a protest at the Federal Plaza in New York City in front of the FBI office. So I'm protesting to have the FBI to do an investigation on my case. I submitted my case information and evidence of New York police colluding with private investigator. So ever since I left my oil and gas job, I was being harassed and followed by private investigators. I have evidence of those incidents, as well as evidence of New York police colluding with private investigators. Instead of taking in my case and do a proper investigation, this is what the police do, and the corruption in the police force in New York City continues. It's really the toxic. So I'm basically protesting against the toxic culture of the police force in New York City, as well as in Canada, where I came from. And the case started in Canada, and I had no help, absolutely no help. I was being framed and accused of mental illness when I reported of private investigators. So this is the authority of what the police can do. They can manipulate the system, have some, write false reports, deny my rights, and this is evidence of a private investigator. So when I went to report a crime or about private investigator, I was set up by the police, the New York police, and I use a hidden camera because I know they've been doing this for my case to have private investigators and pose as police officers or doctors or nurses or so I do have evidence of all these incidents, and this is one of them. This is this man. He claimed to be Lieutenant J. Cruz, but his real identity, he has a second name tag on his left shoulder showing Hernandez, which he flipped the name tag over to hide his real identity. So, the police corruption continues with their authority. Who's going to regulate them unless they, being caught? Obviously, like in the case of George Floyd, that, even their commanders, their higher authorities, they would not even, they tried to cover up that George Floyd incident. So, and you had the mass of people to do a protest in order for the police to properly do an investigation. So this is the system that we have to deal with, and it's not right. And for my case, I'm advocating to have the FBI to do an investigation, because this is an organized crime involving private investigators. So we don't have strong laws to regulate private investigators. So basically anybody can hire them and do an investigation. These private investigators can abuse their licenses, stalk people, harass people. And if you reported about private investigators to the police, guess what? No surprise. The police would not do a proper investigation. They would frame you to have mental illness. This is the current police system that we have, and I don't think this is right. And I'm advocating and protesting against the current police system. We can't trust the police doing the right job. We can't trust the police telling the truth, but yet we have a system that we are supposed to trust them, like a naive system. that we have to trust the police doing the right job and, doing or telling the truth. That's not the case. The current system of the police enforcement, it's not. It's toxic. So I'm protesting with real evidence, which the FBI already took in. The FBI agent 1405 and FBI agent Gelok, Gelok. So I secretly recorded, these police officers, and they, my car got broken in, and I was given 2 different case numbers when I reported to the police, and I was assaulted at the subway station. I also have recording and a witness for this assault at the subway station. So these private investigators do these type of work that you can hire them and they can carry out harassment. And so, and the assault case, the DA called me, took my information and evidence, but she never called me back. I was told that I should get an affidavit for my statement, which I submitted to her with evidence. She never gave me the affidavit. So the corruption cascades throughout like other departments, where when you have a police officer or when you have the New York police try to cover up and manipulate the system, you have other departments to support them. So it's corruption cascade throughout other departments. And here I am, I submitted those information to the FBI already, and the FBI hesitated or would not open an investigation. This is not a matter of choice. This is not up to their decisions whether if they want to do an investigation or not. This is what I was told by the FBI, that it's their decision whether if they want to open an investigation or not. Guess what? No, because people's lives depend on it. Crimes, I already have string of crimes committed against me. How many more? Instead of doing like an investigation, the FBI sent out a Homeland Security, to my protest. And this is the type of authority that they have, and to intimidate me, on my protests. I mean, what have I done? I didn't break the law. I'm not a criminal. I'm here to do a protest. And what? The FBI used up taxpayers' money to call a Homeland Security. This is how they utilize the resources and manipulate the resources. And they sent out a security guard a couple of days ago to harass me. He was like pushing me, pointing at me, harassing me. And I have those on videotape, so I'm going to put that in the link. And so, there's evidence and, to prove my case of police corruption. So it's not a matter of choice whether the FBI want to do or not to open an investigation. That's their job. They're obligated to serve and protect. And instead of serve and protect, you have these corrupt police officers, set me up with a private investigator and framed me to have mental illness. What is mental illness? This is evidence, okay? Submitting evidence is not mental illness, okay? If I set up a cop or dress him up in a uniform, this is ridiculous. I would get charged, This is a serious crime to falsify or frame the police or that submitted false information to the FBI. This is legit, evidence, and they try to cover up. They refuse to do an investigation because they try to cover up. And so prove me wrong. I mean, this is legit evidence. And still, the FBI would not do an investigation. And again, it's not you know, their say whether they want to open an investigation or not. It's a matter of life and death, and people, I'm getting hurt, and I'm worried that my son would get hurt. So I'm going to protest in front of the FBI office at the Federal Plaza in New York City until the FBI does an investigation. So here I am in front of the FBI office. So, and FBI, do an investigation. You have my case evidence. My case involves private investigators, and you know that. You took in my case information and evidence. Do an investigation. If I submitted false information, come and arrest me. You know my evidence is legit. It is not your choice whether you want to do an investigation or not. It is putting my life and my son's life at risk. You do have an obligation to do an investigation. Okay, so there's security guards over there. They stole my phone last time while I left my phone on this concrete plant foundation. So yeah, I mean, what's going to happen next? Like, they sent out a Homeland Security to intimidate me. They got security, stole my phone. So I don't know what else that they gonna think of next to, you know, to stop me from my protests or cover up the case. So yeah, this is ridiculous. I mean, you would think FBI would be like world-class police officers, or no. If they have a choice to whether they do an investigation or not, even your lives depend on it, and they care less about your life, that's not right. So here I am, not going to continue to protest.